Um, Anyone that is not able to see the screen, please unmute yourself and let me know. So most of you have probably, hopefully seen this website by now. This is something that we put together, as you can see on our whole systems network platform. We don't want it to be so interconnected, but yet we thought it was like a good platform to use since it's already up and coming and people are seeing our events and stuff on there. But this community is way more of a personal project of ours and something that also, as Lauren and Jorge were saying about them, like that's very aligned for us. Like we have been holding that vision in our hearts before we met each other as well. So we've done this vision board probably at least 5 times before it's become real and graphic and asked, put it up and started being like, okay, we're gonna have these meetings. But as a lot of you are also sensing into, there's just this urgency at play that we're really starting to feel is needed. So, and not only that, but yes, we decided like Mexico is a place. Honestly, it was somewhat political that we came here. We were really done with the US and we're, happy that it's still going in a more progressive way. I won't say names, but, it's definitely a celebration. That doesn't mean, like, I still want to be in a place, we want to be in a place where we feel more free to do what we want to do. And we've just found that Mexico is really giving that to us. And there's just such a different culture here. And it's more family oriented. And yes, there is a lot more like people that are conservative. But I think, it's something that we're learning to navigate here as well. So to go into our 10-year plan, we always vision 10 years forward and then go backwards. So in 10 years, we're really looking at having up to 50 members on site, maybe 30 members and families. Like we definitely want it to be youth and elderly, accommodating, have the full spectrum there. We think that's really important. We've been looking into time banking systems where we're really working with local people and people within the community to be supporting each other and what you're doing. We're really looking into having 80% of food sourced on site and 100% renewable energy. In 10 years, I think that's doable, but it is definitely a lot of work. And so this is not for the wary. These are, this is and some of you already know that it takes a lot of work to really put your hands in the soil and walk your talk. And not all communities are like that. We've taught about, many different types, but for us, I think like where we see the world and where we identify as like we want to be more reliant on what we create rather than our outside systems. And then support our outside systems, or at least local municipality, local cities to some degree. So then when we're looking at 5 years, we're looking at about 15 members. Oh, I just wanted to say, if you have questions, we'll go into question portion, or you can put it in the chat. So if things are coming up, put it in the chat. Otherwise, just wait until I go through this. So also something that's big is that we have a lot of connections and we are forming more connections, and the more people that we have on site, they will have connections, and we really love to have eco houses and eco builders that are somewhat renowned come on the property and build, and so we can showcase it to others. And also what that looks like is really empowering people. So if you all have skills, coming to our site and building it, even if you're just passing through and you just want to really showcase what you've been working on, it would be somewhat of an exchange to like build a yurt. We have some friends that build yurts, and like paying for them to do that, having a course on site and building that. Also like herbal medicine. We would love to have courses on that. Nature walks of the natural area, have classes on that, survival classes, things like that. So that's something that we're really looking forward to perpetuating. So hosting 4 events annually, that's something that's really big for us, especially like creating whole systems network, having a lot of different events happening on site. So having part of the land be public, and then some of the, like most of the land be private, but like finding that medium that works for our community. And then we also do, especially we're looking at a piece of land right now that we're really excited about. We won't go into that much detail in this chapter, but again, in phase 2, we will be definitely diving deep into that. But we if the property is big enough, we'd love to create some type of conservation around it. I mean, I think just in nature eco-villages are kind of conservation sites, depending on what your priorities are. But this is more of like, okay, letting some of the area stay natural, and learning to mingle with the local wild animals in ways. So 2 years, you can read that. I won't go into too much detail. I already talked about, like, we would definitely want to already start having yurts and tiny houses on the site. We're looking into having sponsors come, and we're not sure if any of our sponsors so far will just gift us money, but we do know of some people that are willing to lend us money to make some of these like tiny homes and things like that happen on the site. And that way people can live there, coming in and being part of the community, and also like hosting Airbnb and things like that. Now, that being said, we don't necessarily want Airbnb or like some type of hosting tourism. Like, we don't want to perpetuate that so much. We're more interested in like making that kind of more of an immediate income because it's easy, and then working towards, you know, more of the retreat side, growing food, hosting courses, things like that. Basic herbalist clinic, yeah, all of that. We'd love to see running mountain trails, or mountain biking trails, running trails, etc. So I'm going to skip this part, but you can see that's our 1 year. And then I think really what's important here is in the next 6 months, what we're really going for is just having 6 committed members. That's all we need. So like the more the merrier. Like, as we said, our goal here is 30 to 50 members in 10 years. But we're not really trying to shoot for that many to start with, just because land is feasible to buy with less. And we really want a core solid team that's willing to work the land. So I'm kind of going into the next part, but do you have anything to share before I go into the phases?
Yeah, well, I think also that the main idea by creating first a solid core and not with that many people, or we don't, it's mainly because living in community and visiting different one, big thing that sometimes people are struggling with is the human aspect, so social aspect, conflict resolution. So when you have like a solid core team that could hold that space and that could be supportive for that, it's really helpful. And that hold the vision and the mission also. And the other aspect is within our vision is creating a really sustainable livelihood. So meaning creating something where the members could really like having some sorts of income and not always struggling with money. So creating those spaces that are available for members.
Yes. Yeah, the co-working aspect. Yeah, I left that up. Yeah. So we didn't go that much into this time, but a lot of the meetings we've been having, people are like, okay, so like, what's the logistics of living in Mexico if you're not, you know, a full-time resident? And we're not full-time residents. But it's very common actually here in the Mexico municipality, really like encourages people to buy land, even if you're not a local. there, you know, of course, like there's legality involved, and you really need to make sure that your purchase is really serious. And we definitely have people on our team that are making sure that's happening. We're part of the down payment is going to be having a lawyer that knows Mexican legislator and law to make sure that the purchase is valid. That's something that's really important. Also, knowing that like you have to leave every 6 months, it's not as big of a penalty as in the US. It's a lot of fees, but that still is a reality. And then making money, probably most people are going to have to make money online, or they might have to be calling in virtually a lot and have the commitment of the community be more virtually based until they can get on more on site, and also until we make it more legal to be making money as a community in Mexico. So there are logistics around that. We're definitely going to be talking about that more and forming that as a group more in the second phase. So just keeping those things in mind, like, yeah, we're not locals. We do want to have more locals be involved. We talked to a few of them, and we're going to be inviting them into this process as well. So our values, we found that to be really important, and I believe that that is also what's attracting people here, and I love that. So please read through that. What do we envision our Ecovillage to be in 10 years? Well, we posted that on the Facebook event, and yeah, we put responsibilities and future qualities, future members. Those are things we're going to dive into deep. We talked a lot through this series to each other, and really just like diving into assumptions. We didn't phrase it specifically like that, but it's more of, okay, what does community mean to you? What does off the grid mean to you? If we have time tonight, we might go into some of those questions as well. Like, what does health mean to you? Like, there's just a wide range, and creating priorities of your community is really important. Where do we find values? Like the last 4 years for, you know, the US as a country has been so crucial in realizing like, oh wow, these are my values. I didn't really realize that until these things happened. And I'm not saying that happened to everyone. I had identified that for myself, you know, younger in life, but also, you know, I think we really need to identify that as a group and make sure, you know, we're all on the same page as we're creating this collective. Like at the end of the day, like we are marrying each other. We might be living with each other for 10, 20, 40 years. Like we don't know. So like this is something that's serious. So understanding like not necessarily everyone has to be the same, but there's certain priorities that we need to share. So we just tried to like kind of create a container to hold in this space. So yeah, diving into phases. We created this. It's definitely broad stroked. Yes, and colorful. But I think what's important here is that we went through phase 1. This is the end of that. Where it's really just community dating. We are still debating, like we might have it once a month, but you know, we're really wanting to dive into the second phase because this is really high hopes, but by June 2021, us personally want to be living on the land that we have bought as a community. So we have definitely some work to do there. But phase 2, which will be starting hopefully next week, but we're going to be sending out a doodle and we're going to be sending out invitations. So something that I'd like to ask after this is to everyone put your emails in, and at least you don't have to send it to the whole group if you don't want the whole group to see your email, but send it to us like as a private invite or as a whole group if you are interested in learning more. Some of you have already sent me your email, so that's fine. But if you're wanting to have the invitation for the personal group, please send it there. But so for phase 2, we're really going into closed discussion, and we are going to be charging membership fees. Why are we doing that? Well, One that is going directly to the community. It's not going to anything else. We individually are going to be paying them too. It's going to be $10 a month individually. And that's something that shows that you're committed to this process and you're actively putting money into the community as we're meeting. And I think it's honestly a really valuable experience, even if you end up walking away in that phase too, because you start realizing, wow, like we're talking about community decisions. We're still, strangers to each other. We don't know each other, like forming that group and then realizing like, oh, maybe this is not Mexico's not the place, or I'm more specific on wanting to grow 100% of my food, or not really wanting to grow that much of my food, or finding like that you're just not as aligned as you thought you were. You're just not ready to be building community actively. That's going to be okay, but we really want to still have this closed container there and be having weekly, if not like bi-monthly meetings, something that's like very regular.
Decide together.
Yes. Yeah. So this last 6 weeks has been us more facilitating, but we really want to shift that in phase 2 into more people taking on roles and finding their niches and doing research on your own. We don't want to be like, the leaders. Like for me, that's not community.
Yeah, same thing with the vision that we just shared. Is something that is general, is like showing our values and we wish could happen on the property and in the community, but it's really something that we want to build with the group of people that want to commit to that project.
And we do have a lot of knowledge, like we even, as Sandra was a part of, like we just hosted a 10-day class that goes into how to create an eco-village, but that's not what we want to hold in this space. Like we recognize those are our strengths, but we're not like saying like we know everything and we're going to teach you how to build eco-villages together. It's like, no, this is a process. We're learning together. Make sure to do your own research. And we will be there because we do have the knowledge as well. Yeah, exactly. So phase 3, so here just making a note that hopefully in March, again, this is up for the community or the group that we have so far that time to decide. We want to have an in-person meeting. We want to go search for land. We're already like pretty excited about one piece of land, but we do still want to give the group as a collective an opportunity to go look together. We're in Chiapas right now and we're excited about this land specifically in San Cristobal de las Casas. We find that, yeah, it's a cool area. So yeah, we're excited about all that. Southern Mexico sounds great. So we would like to do an in-person meetup maybe in this area or more specific to the land that we're interested in. But again, it really decides like what we're doing in phase 2. By that point, we'll be ready to solicit investors. We have a list, we'll have more people that are interested. We have a budget in place that we don't mind sending to you personally. We don't want to go through it just because we already went through it in the past on these meetings, but we'd love to talk to you more about what the budget entails and how much we're thinking it will cost for a down payment and then monthly payments, things like that. I will say that we find that it's really reasonable what we're thinking of, because like we're not wealthy. Like we're looking into, sharing that land with 6 different people, and like the down payment will be somewhere around $6,000, and then the monthly payment will be somewhere around $300 a month. So that's like kind of rent almost, but it goes towards all of our dreams together on the property. So again, we won't go into investments, but we have more specific details